Hi, everybody. You'll notice I'm in a different location today. I probably sound a little bit different. I'm actually out of the country at an executive women's retreat that I was invited to come guest speak at. If you need me to come speak at your retreat, I'm happy to come. Today, I really want to talk with you about what I've been thinking about, which is sets and reps. If you're the kind of athlete who likes to do high intensity with lots of breaks, or you're a strength trainer and you don't consider yourself an endurance athlete, you think of yourself more as a sprinter, listen up because this episode is for you. Before I get too deep into it, my name is Amber Deibert. I'm a performance coach for high achievers, and I am somebody who loves sets and reps. However, I find myself making so many mistakes in my workday that are misaligned with how I like to spend my energy. And this is what I've been thinking a lot about lately. And I know it's going to resonate with you too. So stick around because number 3 is the one that really changed my mind about all of this. So, first of all, let me introduce the topic. If you haven't heard about this before, I have a framework called Work Like You Work Out, where my theory is that we mentally like to expend energy the same way we physically like to expend energy. I think that your body already has an inherent blueprint for how you like to work best, and that is found in how you like to exercise. So, backstory, you've heard this before if you're a longtime follower of the podcast. I got into strength training about a year ago, year and a half ago. And it was interesting because when I started strength training, I hadn't strength trained since high school. And so I hired a personal trainer at my gym to help me and teach me everything, make sure my form was right, teach me how to use the machines. It was very intimidating. And now I'm obsessed with it. And so I hired this trainer to teach me. And it was really interesting because he would have me do sets and reps, which means you would do 3 sets and 8 to 12 reps of different weights, whatever it was. And so you do the first set of like 8 reps, let's say, and then you take a break. You pause. You pretty much fully recover. I think they advise you to recover like at least 90%. But what would happen every single time is I'm in this situation, I'm new, I'm feeling uncomfortable, I'm feeling embarrassed. I'm like, we got to get this over with as fast as humanly possible. And so rather than taking that pause, I would do all my 8 reps and then I would stop, wait for like 2 seconds, and I'd go to pick up the weights again. And my trainer every time was like, whoa, 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 whoa. No, you have to rest. And I was like, what do you mean you have to rest? Do people do that? Do people rest? And what's so fascinating is I found I was doing the exact same thing in my workday. So in my workday, I would just like plow through and try to get as much as I possibly could done. And by the end of the day, I was physically burnt out, emotionally burnt out, mentally burnt out, whatever kind of burnt. I was just like completely fatigued and had nothing left in the tank. And I thought, this is really interesting. I feel like I should try this in my workday. I should try being very focused and very productive and then fully resting. None of these like mediocre breaks where I'm like actually calling the doctor's office or not actually resting, but fully resting and then coming back when I'm refreshed. It's a crazy idea, right? So I started trying this out, doing sets and reps in my workday, and I found that I got way more done. I could work for a much longer period of time, and I wasn't exhausted at the end of the day. By the time that my kids got home from school, I was like excited to see them and had energy left in the tank, which is kind of the dream, right? We want to give the people that we care the most about the best version of us, but a lot of times they're getting the post work version of us and they're not getting the best version of us. So I applied sets and reps to my workday, and believe me, I still have to remind myself how to do this and to do this because I still have this propensity to want to just like pound through and like get it all done and not give myself breaks. But I'm practicing doing that. This week, I've been thinking a lot about the kind of larger concept of this idea, which is thinking about your life in whole. I keep thinking about contrast and I keep thinking about how there's no meal that's as good as the meal that you have when you're so hungry. Or there's no shower that feels as good as a shower when you've been like camping for 4 days and you're super stinky and covered in dirt. Like the contrast is what makes these things so delightful. This weekend, my family and I, we went to a sheepdog herding competition. If you haven't been, it's the wildest thing. I'm just blown away by these sheepdogs. And I don't know why, but over the weekend, I was thinking about how satisfying it is to take a break after you've been working hard. And I realized that in my own life, I think I am not giving myself those ups and downs. I think I'm not giving myself enough contrast in my energy levels. I'm either just resting and not really pushing myself too hard. Or even worse, I'm just pushing myself as hard as possible until I burn out. And I'm keeping myself at one level or the other. I recently learned about the stress cycle and I found it fascinating. The stress cycle is that you have, and I'm not an expert on this, I just learned about it recently. The stress cycle is that you have a homeostasis, you have your baseline level of where you are. And then there are things in life that happen that increase your stress. And so you start at homeostasis, you increase your stress, and as long as you take a dedicated break, okay, we had a stressful time, but now I'm intentionally resting. I'm not just going back to normal. I'm intentionally giving myself rest to recover from that excess stress. As long as you take that intentional rest, your new homeostasis baseline will actually bump up just a little bit and it will remain that way. You'll have the capacity to be able to handle more stress. However, what most of us do, myself included, is we have the stress increases, we have this new stress that comes in, and with that new stress, we don't give ourselves the break. We just keep going. We keep pushing, we keep plowing, and then we hit a wall. And then when we hit the wall, we burn out, and now our capacity for handling stress has plummeted. We intentionally, well, not intentionally, but we have to crash. We don't have the capacity to be able to handle things, and our body kind of shuts down. So when you're in that place, it takes you so much longer to recover. And when you do finally recover, your homeostasis, your baseline, is lower than it was before. Your capacity to be able to handle stress is not what it was previous to you burning out. So I really think that this idea of ups and downs and contrast in having highs and having dedicated rest is so important. And it's something that I'm trying to really think about for my life. And I know that for so many of you, you are similar to me in the way that you like to exercise, the way that you like to expend energy. And this is absolutely going to resonate with you as well. So, the last piece of this that I want to mention is the idea of cycles. If you're someone, I'm just going to say it, who was born with a vagina, you understand cycles. It's something that we deal with on a monthly basis. And I really think that you can look at seasons, you can look at menstrual cycles, you can look at all sorts of nature cycles. Nature has growth and decay. Seasons have a growing, alive season and a hibernation season. And that's what menstrual cycles feel like as well. And I think that this is kind of the point. I think that this is something that we're missing. I think that we expect ourselves to either stabilize and perform at the same level or increase our level and constantly get performing at a higher and higher and higher level. And we don't let ourselves go through those cycles of growth and rest, or growth and decay if it's nature. Every single thing in nature has a growth cycle and a decay cycle. The only thing that doesn't, that I know of, is cancer. Cancer continues to grow, but everything else has to decay. I always think about the leaves falling off the tree in the fall time, where the leaves fall off and then they decay. And that decay is what boosts the next level of growth for the tree. It creates the nutrients in the dirt that the tree needs to grow the next time that it's springtime and the leaves come out. So I want to offer this to you. Think about sets and reps. Think about growth and decay. Think about the contrast of the ups and the downs. Give yourself intentional rest. Give yourself intentional time when you're recovering from the excess stress that you've had. Figure out what that rest looks like for you. If you have ideas, please send them my way because I'm not someone who's good at rest. I'm learning how to do it. If I figure it out, I'll let you know in a future episode. But give yourself this intentional rest where you're not having expectations of yourself. You're letting yourself fully recover. You're letting your mind shut off. You're letting yourself be who you are without needing to perform. I hope this was helpful. I'm going to talk all about this in my newsletter coming up this week. So if you want a cheat sheet and extra ideas on how to navigate this, go check that out. You can join the newsletter at mentalmaster.com/newsletter. And otherwise, I'll see you next week.